Alright, so this video is going over chapter 13 of Building Vocabulary Skills. You can open up to page 76. If you want to go ahead and pause, you can take a look at these and guess the parts of speech. So the one word there, the first one is elaborate. If you want to pause it, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, we'll keep on. So our first one here is, this one is not elaborate. This is elaborate. So this one is actually an adjective. The dinner required elaborate preparation. Each course included a complicated favorite dish of one of the guests. Irma's quilt was very elaborate. She used tiny stitches to sew together hundreds of fabric pieces. So what elaborate means is detailed. On page 77, the definition that it gives is number 5, done with great attention to details, complicated. So when we talk about something that is elaborate, what we're saying is that either it requires a lot of work or that it requires a lot of work, and that's because it has a lot of different parts to it. So for example, in the first one, we're saying the dinner was elaborate because there is many different dishes, and each one of the dishes was very complicated. In the second one, a quilt is like a blanket of some sort. So to say it was elaborate means that there's many little different detailed parts to it. If you look at the picture, we say that this is elaborate tile pattern. So this looks like this is from a mosque, and you can see that there's many different parts to it. Alright, so our next word here is emerge, and emerge is a verb. Anna emerged from the dressing room looking beautiful in a blue prom gown. When the chick emerged from its egg, it was tired and wet, but a day later it was a fluffy yellow ball of energy. So emerge means to come out of. Now if we notice in both of these sentences, we see emerge is coming with from. So emerge has the meaning on page 77 of to rise up or to come forth. So in the picture there, we're seeing this prairie dog, this little animal, emerging from the hole, meaning it's coming up from its hole. In the first sentence, it says Anna emerged from the dressing room, meaning that she's coming out of something. So emerge has this meaning of that you're in something where you're hidden, and then for it to emerge means that you're coming out, so that you're revealing yourself to everybody else. Our next word is exotic, and this is an adjective. Orchids are grown in the United States, not just in foreign countries, so Americans really should not consider these flowers exotic. The kiwi fruit grown in New Zealand is one of several exotic fruits now commonly sold in supermarkets. So in this case, what exotic means is foreign. On page 77, we have it's number 8, foreign, from a different part of the world, strange or different in an appealing way. So exotic really has two sort of connotations here. The first one is that it's foreign, right? Meaning that it's not from where you are from. It's from a different part of the world. But the other part of it is that it's strange or different in an appealing way, meaning that even though it's different from the way that you are, it's different in a way that you like, and different in a way that is enjoyable. So exotic, to describe something as exotic is a compliment. Certainly there's some foods that you might describe as exotic because they're different from what you're used to. But generally, again, if you're saying that, it's because there's something attractive about it or something interesting about it. All right, frugal. This is an adjective. You can stretch your dollar by being frugal. For example, using store coupons and waiting for expensive items to be on sale can save a lot of money. Diane buys designer jeans, but because I need to be more frugal, I buy store brand jeans, which are much cheaper. So in this case, frugal means thrifty. And if you don't know what thrifty means, it means that you're very careful with your money. On page 77, frugal means thrifty, avoiding unnecessary expenses. So frugal is a nice way of saying that someone's cheap, but it describes someone's behavior with money. So someone who is what we'd call someone who spends a lot of money is not frugal. Someone who's very wasteful with their money is not frugal. Frugal means that you only buy the things that you need. You don't waste your money on things that you don't need. So impulsive. This is an adjective. Ved is too impulsive to make plans. He always prefers to act on the spur of the moment. Kids are usually more impulsive than adults. Children will follow such sudden urges as the desire to climb a tree, even if they are wearing their best clothes. So impulsive means that you're acting without a plan. On page 77, it has it down as number 7, tending to act on sudden urges, not in the habit of planning ahead. So impulsive comes from the word impulse, which is a desire to do something. Impulsive means that, like it says here, means that you do things without forethought, without thinking about it ahead of time, without planning for it. If you're impulsive, it means that you're making the decision right at that moment rather than thinking about it ahead of time, whether or not it would be a good idea. One of the things that supermarkets do to sort of play on our tendency to be impulsive is that right by the checkout where we're standing in line, they put a lot of things that we might buy on impulse, but we wouldn't plan to buy. So if you think about the things that are right by the grocery checkout line, this is candy, this is gum, these are sort of trashy magazines. In general, these aren't things that you go to the supermarket to buy, but if you're just standing there, you might be impulsive and just buy it without having a plan ahead of time. Our next word is indifferent, and this is an adjective. Does our society have no interest in homeless children? Are we indifferent to the many families who can no longer afford to pay rent? Because her husband was indifferent to how the apartment would be decorated, Kaylin felt free to do the job any way she wanted. So in this case, indifferent means I'm concerned with. What you should notice in there is that indifferent is followed by the word to. So this is a clue for you. On page 77, indifferent is number 3, having no real interest, unconcerned. So this one is a little bit confusing because it has the word different in there, but it doesn't really have a connection to the word different. Different means that they're not the same, but indifferent is really not related to that. Indifferent means that you don't care. You don't care about the outcome of something. I have, as I've mentioned before, I have 3 sons, and one of them, my oldest son, Zach, he's pretty much indifferent to most things. In terms of the clothes that he wears, he doesn't care. Whatever his mom buys him, he'll wear that. In terms of what he eats, he's not totally very concerned about that. In general, whenever you ask him, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? He'll say, I don't care. So indifferent means that you don't really have an opinion about something, or you don't care about something. So our next one here is indulgent. Indulgent is an adjective. Monica's grandparents are too indulgent with her. They don't scold her even when she splatters the wall with baby food. I'm surprised at Robin's self-indulgent attitude. It never occurs to her not to give in to every little desire she has. So indulgent means giving in. On page 77, indulgent is number 10, and it says giving in to someone's desires, often too much so, lenient. So indulgent is related to the word indulge. Indulge means that you give someone what they want, or not necessarily what they need, but what they want. So when we describe someone as indulgent, it's generally not a positive description. It often means that someone gives someone more than what they really should. So, for example, grandparents in general tend to be indulgent. Grandparents aren't going to be very strict not all of them, some of them are, but are going to be very strict about the rules and will give their grandkids candies and all of these things that they wouldn't have ever given their kids. But it's not a good thing in the long term for them to get that. In the second example, where it says that she's self-indulgent, it means that whatever she wants, Robin in this case, she just gets it. So in this case, she's also very impulsive, right? Whenever she desires something, she goes ahead and gets it. But indulgent means that that you give in to either to yourself or to someone else too easily or too often. So liberal, this is an adjective. Being a chocolate lover, Amos put liberal amounts of chocolate chips in his Toll House cookies. Norma left the waiter a liberal tip because he had been especially friendly and helpful. And in this case, liberal means generous. Now, something that's easy to get confused about is that we had the word conservative before, and liberal and conservative are words that are often used in politics. And in that sense, conservative, meaning resistant to change, makes sense. But liberal, when we're describing a liberal politician, we shouldn't say. We should be careful about saying that person is generous, whereas a conservative person is not generous. So in this case, when we're talking about liberal on page 77, it's number 4. And what it means is a large in amount or quantity or generous. So in this case, when we're talking about that something is liberal, it means that you're using a lot of it. So for example, in the first one, he puts a liberal amount of chocolate chips, meaning that he puts a lot of chocolate chips into his cookies. In the second one, if you give a liberal tip, it means that you're giving a lot of money to that person. Okay, so our next word here is mediocre. It's again another adjective. The mystery movie was neither terrible nor great, it was just mediocre. Although Hank can be quite funny, his jokes are only mediocre compared with those of best comedians. And in this case, mediocre means ordinary. Mediocre on page 77 is number 6, and it says average, ordinary, neither very good nor very bad. Now, mediocre is generally not considered to be a compliment, even if it means ordinary or average. What it means is that it's not special. It's just the average. There's nothing particularly good about it. There's nothing particularly bad about it. So in the second example, where it's saying that he's quite funny, but his jokes are mediocre, it's not really a compliment. It's just saying that they're so-so. In the first example, it says the mystery movie was neither terrible nor great. It was just mediocre, which means that it was just so-so. Okay. So moving on, notable. Notable is an adjective. Winning the Nobel Prize can make a little-known scientist into a notable world figure. Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address is surely his most notable speech, especially among the many Americans who memorized it in school. So in this case, notable means well-known. On page 77, notable is number 2, famous or widely known. So we have the picture there of the Statue of Liberty, which is a notable statue, which means that it's something that people know about. So notable means that something is well known by a lot of people. Okay, so go ahead and you can turn the page if you want, and we'll take a look at the sentence check here, sentence check 1. So although my father didn't do badly in school, he wasn't a great student, so he's proof it's possible to have a successful career despite blank grades. So you can do really well even if your grades aren't super. Overly blank parents who let their children do whatever they please will end up with problem teenagers. So parents who let their children do whatever they want to do, who give them everything, are going to have problem teenagers. So the first one is mediocre. So even though he didn't get great grades or average grades, he's still very successful. And the second one, the parents who let their children do whatever they want may have a problem when their children get older. The puppy blanked from her bath much cleaner than when she entered it, but we doubted that she'd stay clean for long. So this means that the puppy was inside the bath, so wasn't completely visible, and then came out and was much cleaner when she came out. Tran is such a skilled public speaker that we all expected him to become a blank politician one day. So if he was really good as a public speaker, we thought that he would be a really good politician, or a really famous politician one day. The boss gave such blank bonuses that Gail was able to buy a new sofa with the money. So the boss is giving a bonus would be extra money that they get. So they gave so much extra money that she could buy a sofa. So our first one here is emerged. So the puppy came out of the bath. The second one is notable. He was such a good speaker that we thought that he'd be famous as a politician one day. And the bonuses were liberal. There was so much money in the bonus that she was able to buy a couch. Ella embroidered a blank design on the back of her sweatshirt. She used 4 colors and a complicated pattern of swirls and flowers. So the design had 4 different colors, and it was very complicated with different patterns on it. People walked past the bleeding, moaning man without even pausing. They were blank to his need for help. So people walked by him without paying any attention, without even caring about this man's suffering. So the first one is an elaborate design, which meaning that it's a complicated design. And the second one, they were indifferent. They were unconcerned about the man and his need for help. Gowns are so expensive, Carr said, that I've decided to be blank and rent a wedding dress instead of buying one. So if you rent something, you're being very careful with your money, you're saving money instead of buying one. Bruce, as blank as ever, suddenly changed his mind about going to a restaurant and announced, "Let's have a picnic." Right? So he suddenly changed his mind. So he's always like this. He doesn't plan. He just goes as we say, on the spur of the moment. A Native American rain dance may seem blank to many people in the United States, but it's actually more native to this country than square dancing. So this dance may seem strange and foreign to people in the U.S. Okay. So our first one is frugal. So by renting, she's being very careful with her money. And the second one is number 9 is impulsive, meaning that he's just acting on a sudden urge without planning. And the last one is exotic, meaning that this dance seems strange and foreign. Okay, so go ahead and finish up the online activities and the questions and bring those in, and we will go over them in class. Take care. Bye.